I always knew I was better than the situation I was in at the time. So growing up, I hung with a lot of bad people, wrong crowd, made the wrong decisions and whatnot. But I always knew. I knew I was better than a lot of those situations I was in. I was a better person and I knew better, right? And that little voice in my mind that was always there far back, I would say it somewhat kept me on the correct path, even though I made a lot of segues and bad decisions along, the way and the route in my life, right? Um, I always thought that I wouldn't live to see 21 as a teenager. Sad as that sounds, and I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't doubt if a lot of people probably have that same kind of thought process, right? Let's be honest, y'all. Nobody knows the kind of things that we think about as human beings, especially at an early age when our brain is not even really truly developed, right? Uh, I won't even admit to some of the things I've thought about. Nothing weird, but I'm just saying, like we all have weird thoughts and ways about ourselves in life, especially when we were young, right? Aspirations, goals, and dreams they change. But like I said, back to what I was saying, I always knew I was better than. I wouldn't even say people though. I always knew I was better off than where I was at times, right? Um, Living a street life, living, an outlaw life, should I say. I just remember being younger, I was a crook, I was a criminal, I was an outlaw, and I just knew it. Everything about me was that, was that, to be honest. And I wasn't trying to sit there and just screw people over. I was more into the street element as far as pushing, illegal product and, inflicting harm on my enemies and rivals. Never nothing like, harassing or harming innocent, civilians. It was always in the criminal element. I knew my role, right? I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was pushing. I knew what I was representing. And that's how I lived my life. And to be honest, y'all, my kids, my son's going to be 13. My oldest is 21 already. My daughter's going to be 19. I think 20. Forgive me, one or the other. But they're getting old. And my kids, thank God, never lived the way I lived. My son at 13 is nothing like the kid I was at 13. And I thank God about that, right? For that. So, like I said, I don't know what it was that kept me, you know, with this thought process. I don't know really, to be honest, how much it did save me, but I always knew something inside of me, right? The way I was living was wrong and I was better than that. Now, I used to push, back in my day, and I knew I was better than doing that too, right? Pushing poison to my people. I did it for a while. I paid my consequences. I paid for my actions, and got in, got out, and I quit on my terms. When I finally hung it up, I said, man, I'm done. I'm done pushing this. I remember my people were upset. They wanted me to keep living that life, keep pushing poison. And not that they were just being evil about it. That's just the circle of influence I was in, right? The people around me, that's their thought process, right? We got to keep pushing. We got to keep making money, keep fueling our addictions. So anyways, like I said, I knew I was better than a lot of this stuff. I just didn't have guidance to help me along the path to discover, any kind of good in me, to be honest. As a young kid, my grandparents raising me, my biological parents weren't there to pinpoint, anything positive in my life. My grandparents did the best they could, but let's be honest, that's nothing compared to having parents involved in your life, or at least, keeping an eye on you and seeing what you're doing. My grandparents knew what I was doing, but I was so out of control that they couldn't do nothing but, my grandma prayed at night, and my dad, doing what he did, my grandfather. So like I said, I'm grateful that I did have that thought in my mind, because I think that right there really kept me from going off the deep end and really becoming a low life. I was a lost young man, but me knowing that there was better in life somehow, even though I didn't know what it was, me knowing that what I was doing was wrong, and me knowing that I was better than what I was doing, I was a better person. But I don't know how to pull that part of me out at that time as a young kid. But I always knew. I always knew better. I believe in my conscience, my inner being. I don't know what to tell you, but inside, I was always saying that to myself, even in my darkest days, doing the most wickedest, heinous acts, violence, crime, whatever it was. I always knew that I was a more decent person than the way I was living. And if anybody's watching, I just want to tell you this: listen to yourself. In the end, really, just gonna be you. Hopefully, you and your spouse. That's it. Your kids are gonna move on. Your parents are gonna pass away. Friends and family, will come and go. But in the end, it's gonna be you. Really, you and your spouse. I would say, if you're blessed. Amen. But I would just say this: always listen to that inner voice that's telling you the right thing to do. Not the one that's telling you to do wrong. The one that's telling you, hey, you're better than this. You can do better. You will do better. Just don't give up. And this ain't to be a motivational video, but if it is, it's all good. But the point is, I always knew better. Even when I was living wrong, I knew better. I said to say this: maybe somebody will get inspired. Maybe somebody will hear this, and maybe they'll take heed to that inner voice that's warning them, even guiding them when there's no one else to give guidance. Listen to yourself. I'm out of here. Later.